Every scar is proof they tried and failed to end me. Let me tell you something they won't admit. Scars aren't accidents. They are signatures. Proof that someone, maybe many someones, looked at you and thought, if I break this person, I win. And for a while, maybe they did. Because let's not pretend pain is noble. It isn't. When you're bleeding, when your chest is caving in, when betrayal cracks your ribs from the inside out, it doesn't feel like strength. It feels like death in slow motion. But look at me. Look at yourself. You're still here. You're still breathing. And that alone is terrifying to them. Because survival isn't neutral. It's rebellion. When they left you in the dirt, they weren't expecting you to rise. They weren't expecting those wounds to close. They weren't expecting you to turn the hurt into hunger. Every scar on me is proof. Proof that I should have been finished, but wasn't. Proof that they miscalculated. Proof that they'll have to look me in the eyes one day and realize all they did was build something they can't control anymore. You see, scars don't just show survival, they show transformation. A scar means I was cut open, I was torn apart, but when I healed, I didn't heal the same. The skin is harder, the flesh is thicker, the pain has memory, and so do I. So when you see me silent, staring, distant, don't mistake it for weakness. That's me remembering, that's me sharpening, that's me becoming something deadlier than I was yesterday. They thought pain would kill me. They thought betrayal would bury me. They thought silence would suffocate me. But every scar is a weapon now. Every scar is a reminder. Every scar is a whisper that says, you tried to end me, and you failed, and failing to kill me, that was their biggest mistake. The first cut never comes from your enemies. It comes from the hands you trusted most. I remember the moment like it's carved into bone. Their smile, their promise, their words that felt safe. I'll never leave. I'll always be here. And then the silence, the absence, the betrayal so sharp it didn't just stab my back. It carved into my chest. People think betrayal is quick, a single act. But it's not. It's slow. It's the unanswered messages. The empty chair where someone used to sit. The way their eyes shift when you need them most. Because they already decided you're too heavy to carry. And you feel it. God, you feel it. That moment when someone you'd bleed for looks at you like you're disposable. I used to lie awake at night replaying it, asking the same questions that eat at you too. What did I do wrong? Why wasn't I enough? Why did they leave when I would have stayed? And the silence never answered. That's the cruelty of betrayal. It doesn't just break your trust, it rewrites your reflection. You start thinking, maybe it was me, maybe I deserved it, maybe I really am too much. And that lie, that's the deepest cut of all. But here's the truth they don't want you to see. It was never you, it was them. Because loyalty is heavy, and weak people can't carry it. So they broke me, they dropped me, they left me bleeding in the dirt because my loyalty weighed more than their spine could hold. And when the dust settled, when the room was empty, when the echo of their promises still rang in my ears, that's when I realized something. The people you die for will sometimes watch you drown. And if you're not careful, you'll keep begging them to throw you a rope while they're the ones tying the weight to your ankles. That's betrayal. Not just the knife, but the smile while they twist it. There's a silence that doesn't feel peaceful. It feels like suffocating underwater, while the world above laughs and breathes freely. I lived in that silence. Eyes wide open at 3 a.m, staring at the ceiling, replaying the same betrayals over and over like broken film. Every scene the same. Me reaching, them leaving, and my mind whispering the question it always did. Why wasn't I enough? That's the cruelest voice. It isn't theirs. It's yours. That quiet, poisoned echo in your head that repeats every lie they ever made you believe. You're too much. You're not worth it. No one's coming. And the worst part, I believed it, not just in my head, in my body. My chest felt like someone had their hand wrapped around it, squeezing tighter every time I tried to breathe. My stomach churned like it was eating itself alive. My hands would clench into fists, nails digging into my palms until blood dotted my skin, because pain on the outside felt easier than the war raging inside. It was like my whole body was trying to crush me from the inside out, like I was my own cage. And then came the stillness. Not peace. No, this was colder. It was that moment when your tears dry out, when your throat aches from screams that never came, when your heart stops asking for rescue because it knows no one's listening. That's when the voices shifted. They didn't whisper weakness anymore. They hissed something else. Stop waiting. Stop begging. Stop bleeding for people who let you die. And it wasn't rage that followed, not fire. It was something sharper, something cleaner, like steel bending under pressure until it warps into a new shape, like a bone breaking and healing stronger, but crooked, jagged, untouchable. I remember sitting there in that darkness, realizing the old me was gone, the version that begged for love, the version that trusted smiles. The version that believed people always come back, dead, buried beneath silence. And in that burial, something else rose, something heavier, harder, hungrier. That's the breaking point no one warns you about. It isn't fire, it isn't chaos, it's colder than that. It's the moment you stop being human, in their fragile sense of the word, and start becoming something else, something they can't predict. Something they can't break again, something dangerous. People fear monsters, but they never stop to ask where monsters come from. Because monsters are not born, they're made. Made by neglect, made by betrayal, made by silence when you were screaming for help and no one came. I didn't wake up one day and decide to be cold. I didn't choose to carry this shadow in my chest. It was given to me, forced on me, carved into me by every hand that swore loyalty and let go. Every night I spent lying awake, staring at the ceiling while my chest felt like it was caving in. That was the fire. Every tear that dried against my skin because no one was there to wipe it. That was the hammer. Every scream that never made it past my throat because no one would have listened. That was the shaping. And slowly, piece by piece, I changed. Fear, once sharp, dulled into calculation. Sadness hardened into anger. Betrayal twisted into a vow. I stopped flinching. I stopped waiting. I stopped caring about fitting into their fragile world. I started building my own. A darker one, a stronger one. A world where I didn't need permission to exist, where I didn't need anyone's rope to climb out of the pit, because I was learning how to scale the walls with my bare, bloodied hands. And when they finally saw me again, they didn't recognize me, because I wasn't just me anymore. I was every night I survived. I was every scar I carried. I was every betrayal, every silence, every scream locked inside my chest, reborn as something sharper. They saw the eyes that no longer begged, only watched. They heard the voice that no longer asked, only commanded. They felt the presence of someone who no longer needed them. And that terrified them more than anything. Because here's the truth, the person they broke no longer exists. They killed that version of me, but what they left behind was the monster. Not a mindless beast, not chaos. Something colder, something deliberate, something forged in fire and sharpened by silence. And that's when I realized, they didn't destroy me, they built me. When the change came, it wasn't loud. It wasn't an explosion, not fireworks, not some cinematic revelation. It was quieter, colder, and because of that, it was far more terrifying. At first they didn't notice. They thought I was still the same, still the one who would smile, nod, and carry their weight without question. But the moment came, small but sharp, when they realized something was different. The first time someone tried to talk down to me, I didn't flinch. I didn't explain myself. I didn't rush to smooth over the situation. I just looked at them, silent, unblinking, and in that silence, their confidence cracked. They fumbled for words, like prey, realizing the predator is closer than they thought. Another one tried to manipulate me, the same way they always had, tugging at guilt, twisting words, painting themselves as the victim. But the guilt didn't land anymore. I didn't bend. I didn't apologize. They realized the strings they once pulled were no longer attached to me. That's when it hit them. They hadn't just lost control. They had created something immune to it, and it spread. Whispers followed me. You've changed. You're different. You're colder. But they never said it with admiration. They said it with unease, because deep down, they knew the truth. They didn't want me strong. They wanted me broken, compliant, predictable. Now they had no idea what I might do. The same people who once ignored me now avoided my eyes. The same people who mocked me lowered their voices when I walked into the room. And the ones who once swore they cared began to distance themselves because they couldn't handle the mirror I had become. I wasn't showing them who I was. I was showing them who they made me. And that's what unsettled them most. They couldn't control me. They couldn't use me. They couldn't even recognize me. What they saw wasn't the old me, scarred but still familiar. What they saw was the shadow of everything they had done to me. Standing tall, walking free, staring back at them with eyes that promised I will never go back. At some point, survival wasn't enough. For years, I thought strength was just about enduring, just about taking the hits, carrying the scars, proving I couldn't be broken. But survival is only half the story. Survival means you're still in their shadow. The rise begins when you step out of it, when you stop measuring yourself against the damage they did, and start writing your own story in fire. I remember the first time I felt it. That surge, not fear, not pain, power. The air itself seemed different when I walked into a room, not because I was louder, not because I demanded respect, but because the weight of everything I had endured pressed down on everyone around me. Even if they didn't understand why, they could feel it, the way animals sense a storm before it breaks. The way prey feels the predator's eyes before they see the teeth. The rise is not about shouting, not about proving. It's about silence that makes them nervous. It's about eyes that tell the truth they don't want to hear. It's about carrying scars like armor and daring anyone to test their sharpness. And when they did test it, when someone pushed, expecting the old me to fold, they met a wall, an unmovable, merciless wall. I didn't explain. I didn't negotiate. I didn't waste breath. I just stood my ground. And they broke themselves against me. That's when I realized I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was becoming a weapon. Every betrayal sharpened me. Every scar hardened me. Every night I thought I wouldn't make it, layered steel over my soul. And now, every step I take is heavy with that weight. The weight of survival turned into strength. The weight of pain turned into power. This is the rise. It's not about becoming what they wanted. It's not about proving them wrong. It's about proving yourself right by existing as the storm they never saw coming. Listen, this is the last thing I'll tell you before the lights go out and the echo does the rest of the work. Hold it like a pulse against your ribs. They hammered you down because they were scared of what you could be if you weren't small. They pushed until your knees hit concrete and smiled like they'd won. But winning over broken things is easy. Building a storm from the rubble is what they couldn't imagine, and it's what you learn to do by accident, by surviving. Picture this. The same faces that sharpened knives in your name now glance at you and flinch. They search for the old softness and find stone. They try a joke and it doesn't land. They reach for the leash and find no collar. Their mouths open and close like wounded fish because the script they wrote for you no longer exists. That moment, that split second when they realize they created the thing they can't control, is your final sermon. You don't have to shout. You don't have to shout. You don't have to prove. You simply stand, breathe, let the silence do the work. Watch the shame of their mistake settle into their eyes. Here's the line that will keep playing in their heads long after your back is turned. They thought breaking me would end me. They were wrong. They made me lethal. Say it once. Say it twice. Let it become a drumbeat under your footsteps. This isn't a promise of vengeance. It's a fact of consequence. You were broken, you healed, and the world becomes different when you walk through it. Your scars will whisper warnings to those who underestimated you. Your silence will become authority. Your presence, a verdict. So leave them with this image. You, quiet as a storm, patient as winter, inevitable as dawn. They won't see it coming. They never did. And if anyone asks later how you became so dangerous, tell them the truth. Low and steady, the more they break you, the deadlier you become. Now walk out. Let the echo follow.